Hey there! So I was just recently asked what the process would be like to use a Jupyter Notebook in order to overwrite an existing ArcGIS Online feature layer using Google Sheets. So I went ahead and created this Jupyter Notebook. I uploaded it to my GitHub and it's now publicly available. So you can go ahead and download it, change it how you need. But I did want to record a quick video showing you how to actually just take this notebook, add it to your ArcGIS Online organization, and connect it to your existing Google Sheets. So let's walk through it. So for starters, I want to actually use an existing example that I have. So here I have a number of fictional resource facilities in the Caribbean. This is simulating a situation that would be like an emergency response exercise if there was a hurricane or something, and certain facilities needed to request specific durable medical equipment like bandages, generators, you name it. So here you're listing out the quantity requested, the quantity delivered, the request date, their current status, as well as the longitude and the latitude of those facilities. I will note that this Python notebook actually does require that latitude and longitude, so I haven't scripted in any sort of geocoding for an address. So just note if that's something that you're going to need to do, you are going to have to add that in. What we're looking at, of course, is probably a shared Google Sheet that the GIS specialist is not necessarily the person who is going to be regularly updating that. So I want to be able to pull from this specific Google Sheet and automatically overwrite my data perhaps daily. Because I, as the GIS specialist, have already created a resource dashboard. So here I'm looking at a generic situational awareness dashboard where we're going to see the total number of requests, this total number of resources that have been requested versus been delivered, the names of the locations, the resource requests over time, as well as being able to filter those requests. And here I've already set all of this up with an existing feature layer, and I just want to automate that overwrite process. Here you can see I've started with 25 total requests, and since I've last updated, there have been 25 more requests that have been added to my Google Sheet. So let's go ahead and connect this using my ArcGIS Online account. So you can go ahead and go directly into the GitHub repository and just go ahead and download that as a zip file. Then you'll extract just this Python notebook right here. Once you have the Python notebook, you can go into your content and you can go ahead and add a new item. Then I'm just going to drag and drop that feature layer Python notebook directly into my ArcGIS Online organization. Now I have my feature layer overwrite, Google Sheets, and I'm going to use this as my resource demo. I can go ahead and just use the ArcGIS Notebook Python 3 standard runtime. That should be sufficient. And I'll go ahead and click Save. Then I can just open this notebook directly and start editing it. Here we're going to need to just do a couple of different things in order to fill in tasks and allow us to connect our Google to our ArcGIS Online organization. So make sure you have your data open of the feature layer that you've already added and used in something like a resource dashboard. I also, of course, want to make sure I have access to my Google Sheet itself. Here, I'm going to then go into my notebook and start making my changes. For starters, we're going to use GSpread and OAuth 2 client in order to connect to that Google Sheet, which is private. So I don't want necessarily to have a public-facing Google Sheet. I want that to be behind a login. And so here's how we're actually going to make that connection. I'm going to go ahead and run this, and it's going to tell me that I need to install these different libraries, and then I need to restart the kernel in order to use those updated packages. So I'm going to go ahead and restart my kernel. And then once that's already been done on my notebook, if it's been done, it's going to simply ignore that and say, okay, we already have those libraries installed. Next, we're going to import some other libraries like pandas in order to actually read and manipulate that table from Google Sheets and then transform it in ArcGIS and create that spatial data frame. We're also going to connect to our ArcGIS organizational account and make sure that we're pulling that data from our GIS home. So here I can go ahead and run that kernel as well. Cell. And that's just going to import everything that I need from both GIS as well as Google. This is also going to tell me that I am, of course, logged in as myself, but I do have an administrator role. That's okay. We're not going to do anything absolutely crazy in this particular notebook, but do note that if you do have an administrator role, you want to be cautious of what you're clicking go on in your specific sheet. Next, we're actually going to import a service account JSON and authorize it. If you don't actually know how to do this, how to create a JSON in your console cloud from Google, then you can just follow these steps and I'll actually walk you through it. You are going to have to turn on your Sheets API if you haven't already. And this is just going to allow ArcGIS to handshake with Google so that you can actually keep that authentication in place. If this is a publicly available Google Sheet, you do not need to do this step. I've already done this step. And so what I'm actually going to do is also add this into my notebook. So in order to add the JSON, I have to go to my files, and then I'm going to go to my ArcGIS home. You'll see that the directory is empty unless you've already added other files for other particular notebooks. And I'm going to go ahead and choose a specific file to open. And add my JSON directly. I'm now going to actually copy that JSON name. Then I'm going to hit exit, and I'm going to go ahead and add that down here where it says your name.json so that this knows to connect directly to my JSON that's in the files. Here, I'm going to go ahead and run this, and I should be authorized. Next, I'm going to connect directly to my Google Sheet. Here, I just need my sheet ID, which I can get from my URL here. I'm going to add that both to sheet ID as well as to my URL. And then I just need my GID. All a GID is telling you which sheet you're on. Since I only have one sheet, that's just going to be a 0. I'm going to replace that here and here in my URL. Then this is basically just going to open this in a pandas data frame. So I can go ahead and click run, and it's going to give me a print so that I can tell, yes, this looks right to me. And then I can read the sheet directly. It's going to tell me that I loaded all of those 50 rows of data directly from my Google Sheet. So now I'm good to go ahead and convert this to my spatial data frame. Here, I just need to tell it where my longitude and my latitude are in my data. In my data, I do not have them called long and lat. I have them called longitude and latitude. So I am going to go ahead and change those so it knows what to connect to. Latitude. Here's where we're setting the spatial reference. This is WGS 84. That's all fine and dandy, so I'm just going to run this cell. And it's going to tell me that I have successfully converted to spatial data frame with 50 rows. Finally, I am going to clear out the current feature layer table and overwrite this with a new table. The reason that I want to do this is because I know that my data is going to be updated beyond just adding new information below these data sets. So I know that this particular facility is going to change in the quantity requested and delivered, and then maybe the status will also be something that's changing. So instead of just appending to the bottom of my table, I want to make sure that I'm actually clearing that out and fully overwriting. So just something to note that is what's going on here. If you would rather do something like an append, then go ahead and do that instead, and you can remove this step for deleting and re-adding those layers. All I need to do here is add my feature layer ID, so I can go back into my ArcGIS organization, drop down below the URL here. You'll see that I then have my item ID. Here, I can go ahead and click copy, go directly back to my notebook, and paste it where the feature layer ID is. This is then going to clear that whole table and overwrite it with the new table when I hit run. And here you'll see that my feature layer is overwritten with 50 features, and here are the service responses from them. I can go ahead and hit save here on my Python notebook. And if I want to, of course, I can set a task where this could be done once a day, maybe once an hour, once a week, whatever makes the most sense for you. And then just to do a final check, I'm going to go back to my resource dashboard where I had 25 requests, and I'm just going to do a refresh to see if my data successfully updated, and it did. And you'll see here, not only did my total numbers of requests updated, but so did all of the information associated with it. My filters still work, and my list and graphs have all updated. So that's how you basically can just take that Python notebook, use it to connect directly to a Google Sheet, overwrite your ArcGIS Online feature layer. Feel free to take it, change it however you need it, and make it adapt for you. Reach out if you have any questions, and please give me any input on the GitHub if you see any changes that need to be made. So thanks so much. Bye-bye.